Okay, we're gonna start this hearing. We'll call it to order. This is a public hearing, August 8th, 2023 at 6 p.m. There'll be two sessions to this hearing. We'll go through that in a second. Let's start out with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lynn, you want to take roll call?
Commissioner Elwood.
Present.
Commissioner Keys.
Here.
Commissioner Kuhn.
Here.
Commissioner Graves.
Here.
Commissioner Mills.
Here.
Commissioner Pittman via Zoom.
Here.
And Lynn Dumas present. All present.
All right, I'll declare a quorum. Welcome to the public. The way I will get into how the hearing will be conducted, but I'm going to read how the hearing will be conducted. Then we'll let Mr. Jeffrey will be going first. Joffrey, I want to pronounce it correctly. Joffrey. And then we'll open it up to the commissioners to ask questions and make comments, and then we'll open it up to the public. So I guess I can read this one. Purpose of the public hearing: Arkansas statutes require that planning commissions hear public comments in a public hearing before rezoning permits or changes to zoning regulations can be approved. This public hearing is for those purposes: to hear comments regarding only the following zoning application and zoning regulation documents being considered by the City Planning Commission for approving and recommending to the City Council for adoption. In session one, that'll be regarding a rezoning application RA 230627 filed by Michael Joffrey, requesting a change from R1 low density single family residential to R3 multifamily residential for the property on the southwest corner of Shields Drive and Woodsdale Drive, aka unit block lot 128-1-2. Session 2 will be regarding amending the planning and zoning regulations, section 7.05, commercial districts and industrial district uses for government services from conditional to permitted in commercial zoning districts C1 and C2. How the public hearing will be conducted. Public hearings must be conducted in a fair and orderly manner so as to allow citizens' opinion to be expressed directly to the Planning Commission that is making zoning policy decisions. Individuals wishing to speak shall approach the podium, state their full name and address, and make their comments. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to make their comments. If multiple individuals have made similar comments on the same item, then the chairman may limit further similar repeating comments. Individuals who submit documents at the hearing shall identify each document. Each document submitted shall be made a part of the official record of the hearing. Documents submitted prior to the public hearing will be provided to the commissioners and be made part of the official record of the hearing. Reading documents into the record are subject to the 3-minute time limit. After all comments have been made, the chairman will close the hearing. Once the public hearing is closed, further public comment on the topic will not be entertained. If a planning commission meeting follows immediately after closing the public hearing to deliberate on the hearing comments and to consider further action on this topic, no public comments will be accepted on this topic during that meeting. Commissioners may discuss an item and ask questions of the presenters from the public hearing. Okay, we'll now open session one of the public hearing. Michael, you want to go up to the podium and give us a rundown of what you're asking?
Yes. I own the property up here at the corner.
Can you state your name and address?
Oh, that's right. My name's Mike Joffrey. My address is 35 Sailboat Drive.
Okay.
I own this property up here on the corner, and I looked into it because I was going to sell it, and to sell it, I wanted to have it in R3 so somebody could build multi-places right here on this end. I have both properties, 1 and 2. 2 we're going to leave in R1 for now, I guess, because it's not important because you really can't build on there. So I applied to do the change the zoning, but then I found a warranty of deed in 2012, which states that the property to be zoned as residential only, either 1, 2, or 3, will be at the discretion of the developer or landowner. Until this decision is made, it will be a R1. So if I would have had that before I would have tried to rezone it, I don't think we would have had to go through this rezoning, because I have the right to make a decision on that property. So when I bought it from the developer, and he told me that I could build townhouse or whatever I want, because he was going to build townhouses there. So he zoned it like that, 1, 2, or 3, just in case somebody bought it and they wanted a 1, they wouldn't have to pay the extra fees. So he told me flat out that he was going to build condominiums there. So whatever I wanted to do there, I'd be able to do it. He made the units 128, just 1 and 2. There's no other properties in those units except for those 2. So I own both of them, so I make the decision and I can vote if I want it zoned or not. Nobody can vote against me because nobody else is in that thing. So I guess that's pretty much what I'm going to say. I went through the rezoning thing because I think it's good for everybody to know that how to do the rezoning, because I don't think it's ever been done here before. But with this document, I think it pretty much tells me that it's at discretion of myself if it's going to be a 1, 2, or 3. Second paragraph says that the covenants will be determined at the time of construction, but that means if somebody started building it and they started building 1 house, it'd be an R1. If they started building 3 or 4 houses, it'd be an R3. So I could either make that decision, or when it starts building, they could make that decision. That's the way I read this. And anyway, I guess that's what I have to say. So if there's any question, I'll take any question.
Wait, we're gonna let the commissioners make comments or ask questions first. Then we'll open it up to the public. And we, let me kind of caution everybody right now. We don't want people just raising their hand and speaking from their chair. We need to take turns. We need to go to the podium, state your name for the record, and then make your comment or ask your questions. So, does any commissioner wish to ask a question or make a point?
I think that's appropriate for the meeting. This is for the opportunity for people to speak their point of view and their opinion. So I'll reserve mine for the meeting when we consider it.
Okay. I guess I will make one comment. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm not sure that what you said about you having the say-so and you don't need the approval from the city to rezone. I don't know that that's true, because that was a couple of deeds transfers ago when that took place. The latest deed transfers, I don't believe, made that same stipulation. And,
Well, I called down there and there's no covenants on that. This is the covenants for the property. And it says, it pretty much says on the, if you read it says here the following, let's see, describe property. Oh, never mind, I missed. Guarantee its successors or assignees. So I think I'm either a successor or assignee to the property. So I would think a lawyer would go in my favor on this. That's just the way I feel. And if that's what I'd have to do, that's what I would do, but that's.
Aren't there 3 properties in unit 128?
No, there's only 2.
There are 3. There's lot 1, parcel A, and parcel 2. Excuse me, lot 2.
Yeah, I own both.
You own parcel A and lot 2.
I own parcel A, lot 1 and 2.
No.
Lot 1 is the
house that's there.
the other.
I don't know about that. I think it says in my warranty deed I own both. Let me look at my. Let's see. I think I own 1 and 2. I'll go over here in a second. I have to get to.
Craig and Kathy Royce on the lot 1.
In unit 128.
Is that who lives at that? Is that who lives at that corner? Is that their name?
Just beyond the strip.
No, I know which house you're talking about, but I don't know if that's them or they had, huh?
Are you saying you own that lot and house?
No, I own the first lot and the second lot.
The
And
first
I
lot
think
is
it says
parcel
1 and
A.
2 on my paperwork. On my, here it is, just a second. Oh, well, it doesn't matter. I would have to look more into that. I didn't look into that part of it. It said I owned 1 and 2 and.
Actually, I think you own parcel A and lot 2.
Okay, well, maybe so. But still, if we had to vote on it, I'd have 2 votes. So it doesn't matter.
Okay, we'll open it up now for anybody from the public. Michael, you can go ahead and have a seat. You might want to sit close by.
I can walk.
Anybody have any comments?
Guys, get up there.
Is that mic on?
Is mic on? There it is.
Thank you.
Tom Axman, 4 Horseshoe Drive on the island. Mr. Joffrey, I would just ask you, what kind of buildings are you gonna put in there?
I'm gonna sell it. I'm only getting an R3 for somebody that comes in to buy it. So he values my property if it's an R1, but it states clearly that I have the discretion to do it. Tom Dees was gonna put a couple buildings up there. When he was alive, that was his plan. He had plans drawn up for it and everything. And when he sold it to me, he told me that I have it so you can build whatever you want on that property, or I wouldn't have bought that property.
I don't know that anybody could have given you carte blanche such as that, but the thing I've got too, if whatever's gonna be built on that property, wouldn't it have to be approved by the Corps of Engineers?
Well,
Because, I mean, I'm looking at that property, you're gonna have to have something cantilevered over the lake to have any kind
Oh,
of
no.
property.
I can build, I took measurements on it the other day. I have to be 30 feet from the street, and I still have enough room to build buildings at 100 feet by 35 to 40 feet. And still have room in the back to put drive past it. No, I went up there and measured the whole.
Well, I've never measured it, but it looks like 100 feet, you're gonna be in the lake.
No, I don't build it that way. I'm gonna build it the other way.
Okay. As a point of record, that lot is a little over 8/10 of an acre, which is well exceeds the square footage that would be required to build an R3 building of some sort. So, you know, I don't know how fast it slopes off or anything, but there's ample acreage there to do it. Anyone else?
Can we just see where it is on the map? I can't
It's the green area right there.
Is that one lot or three?
That's one lot.
This
yeah.
is one
There's
lot here,
parcel A, yeah.
and this is the parcel A. What he wants to rezone is this lot on the end. Shields Drive wrap around the bridge off of Woodsdale.
Okay, and that gentleman owns the lots next to it, correct?
No,
The
I
person we
own-
talked about owns this lot down here in 128.
I own 2 lots. right?
Michael owns that parcel right
He
there.
owns this parcel and this lot number 2.
Dan, since we kind of asked you to be here, this is, you know, a question more for whoever eventually wants to build on that lot. But we know there's a water line easement on the property, but there's no sewer to that property. How much of a problem is that for somebody someday to want to be able to run a sewer line to that property?
I mean, your guess is as good as mine. I mean, we can't do it. We'll have to have, you know, contractor out to come in here and do it. Barrows or, that's just solid rock, so we're not gonna be able to do it.
But you have to go, the nearest line is on
Bandy
the other
Drive.
side of Bandy, right?
Yep.
The sewer line runs along the timeshare, crosses Bandy, ends up on this side of the road, goes to that pump station, and then they pump it in a pipe across the bridge. That's
Sure.
the sewer line. And the water line comes this side of Shields, crosses the road and runs through this property, along property. So that 30-foot easement for the water is right in through here.
And
So
then
the closest point is off of this property across the road for sewer.
there's sewer lines in between the condo units. Are those HICPC sewer lines, or are those Table Rock Landing sewer lines?
Well, I mean, I'm assuming there are, because they got manholes on them, so we got manholes.
So okay.
Still, I don't think that, I mean, you have to check the grade and everything and see if it'll work, but it's just gonna be just as tough there to try to cross there and bring it down, so either direction you go, it's, and I'm not sure we're gonna, I mean, it's gonna be a private line. I don't see why we would, the district would run like an 8-inch line, because we're not gonna gain any more customers, so. You know, it would be all the responsibility of whoever bought that lot.
If it were single family versus multi-family, would that make a difference on the size of the sewer line that they'd run?
No. I mean, it just depends on what kind of, you know, multifamily, if they're gonna be stacked on top of each other, or side by side, or.
Dan, if this lot wasn't up high and it wasn't rock, and I wanted to build my house on there, isn't it my responsibility to pay for the line from my property line to your sewer? The way it works, or do you folks, does the HICPC pay for that line connection?
When the connection's in the, let's say it's on the road, or, you know, let's say it's a water line, actually, a sewer line,
Okay,
we just run it to the property line,
okay,
that's it. But in
you're
this
gonna
case,
have to put it, you're gonna have to run it across the road.
well, we're not gonna do it,
Well,
because
somebody-
that, yeah, somebody's gonna have to do it, because
Well,
that's,
who will pay for that? That's the question.
I mean, right now, I mean, I can't speak for the board, but, you know, if you ran a 4-inch line, that's the homeowner's responsibility all the way from the main all the way up there. I would assume, I mean, because like I said, it doesn't benefit us at all to run a so-called main and have for that one single family or multifamily or whatever it is. I mean, we don't, there's no benefit.
No, but I mean, that would be an issue for whoever eventually comes to the city for a building permit. That's when that issue would have to be dealt with. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I didn't think in terms of that being solid rock, that obviously adds a level of complexity. I don't know if they could bore up under the road or if they'd have to.
Not with rock, because you can't judge where it's gonna come out at. I mean,
Yeah.
and it's gonna cost more to bore it than
So
open cut.
it's your opinion that this space across the road is built on solid rock right in this area?
Well, you can
Because
see
the property
you
line
can
is
see
right
the
here.
ledge right there. You can see
Right.
the ledge as you go around, so, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's solid rock, but, you know, it's gonna be,
But typically, it's HICID's responsibility to bring it from the line to the property line, period, right?
not at, not like that, cause it costs, we only run it like 10 foot or something. You're taking from the property line to the main, which is only, typically, they're only about, I don't know, 5 foot.
So
So,
what are all these cuts in all these roads? I thought that was crossing the road to get to the sewer on the other side.
no, that's all water leaks.
Okay, all the cuts that are crossing the road this direction are water leaks?
Surface lines.
Okay, in Holiday Island, isn't the sewer on one side of the road and the water's on the other?
Yep.
So if I build my house on the lot opposite the sewer line, who crosses the road?
Typically, all the lots already have sewer available to those lots.
Okay.
This one was a parcel,
Okay,
never intended to be built on. This is back, I mean,
Whether it's
10,
about-
12 years ago.
I'm not
So-
sure,
It'll be an issue.
I'm not sure that it's material to our,
right, it's
our
not.
hearing tonight. It was something that I was curious about, but it's gonna be an issue whether it's a R1 or an R3. And, you know, it's probably an issue that should have been handled by the developer when he plotted that parcel into 2 lots in a parcel. That problem should have been dealt with at that time. Now, the eventual property owner is gonna have to try to deal with it. Okay, anybody else have any comments?
Hi, Carol Kellerman, 11 Ironwood Drive. I'd like to get back to the sewer issue again, if we could bring that little map up. If you have to bore underneath that road to bring that sewer to the property line, who's responsible if between the property line and where it meets the junction for where it connects to the sewer, who's responsible for that if it breaks? So, and is that gonna impede the road? Is it gonna impede traffic to the road? And I just can't imagine that a multifamily unit doesn't take any more sewage than a single family. I think, to me, it doesn't make sense that it wouldn't. And then also, I would like the city to consider the traffic issue and the parking issue. It's a narrow strip of land. It's on a very steep cliff that goes into the lake. You know, the planning for the developer, you know, that would be a huge consideration. Everybody that drives that road, that goes to the barn, that goes to the swimming pool, that goes to pickleball, goes home. Where there's traffic issues, there could be traffic issues there. If that sewer line would pop, is that gonna put everybody out? I live on the island. We have ice storms. If something happens to that sewer and it ruins that road, am I stuck in my house and can't get to Sunfest until that gets repaired? Can we rely on that homeowner to have the money to do that kind of repair? I understand that it's not pertinent to this meeting, but I do understand that that was a parcel that was not intended to be built on. Thank you.
Can I answer that question?
Oh, I wanted to ask you a question too.
Sure.
What's the document that you were referring to?
It's the covenant for the warranty deed. For the property.
The warranty deed, the covenants for the warranty deed.
Right, the warranty deed is a deed, it's filed at the courthouse. That's what you get when you buy a piece of property. And I wanna
I just
say-
wondered what you were referring to. You
Oh,
said
no,
this,
no,
this
that's
piece of
fine.
paper, and I didn't know what this piece of paper
No, no,
was.
I understand, it's the warranty deed, it's the actual deed for the property. Anyway, I have one thing to say, there's no way they would have made this deed 1, 2, or 3 if they didn't, if they didn't think they could build it. And there's townhouses, and there's timeshares all the way down the street, and they all go to the same sewer. So if you got that problem, I guess you should worry, and we should shut down all the townhouses and all the timeshares on that street because we have the same problem.
Well, I understand that, and there are multiple units surrounding that piece of property. Adding more multiple units on that small piece of property, how
Well,
much is that gonna stress it? Because
well,
we
the most-
already deal with all of that.
The most you can build on that property, because I measured it, would be 3 buildings. I mean, that's the most you can build. You
Now-
can't build any further because there's not enough room.
Right, so when you're talking buildings, are you talking
I'm not building.
up or
I'm not- I'm
vertical
not
or
the one-
horizontal?
Actually, I'm not the one building, I'm the one selling the property.
Some of these questions would be addressed at the building permit stage. You know, there's, any application for a building permit is gonna have to meet our zoning ordinance for minimum acreage, minimum parking spaces, access to the road, obviously. There's gonna have to be something worked out about the sewer line. But the sewer line issue, I don't really see being any different, whether it's a R1 or an R3. If you're gonna build on that lot, you're gonna have to have a sewer line. You know, it's gonna be a challenge for whoever eventually tries to build on that lot. Any other comments? Al, you had?
Al Selleck, 22 Buckskin Lane. I just had a couple questions. You said there's water easement, but is there water lines there now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a manhole, you drive past that lot, there's a manhole, looks like it's possibly sewer line,
Yeah,
but that's actually, there's a PRV there.
and you're trying to sell it, you don't want to build on it.
Well, I wasn't gonna build on it, but I ended up buying a house on Sailboat Drive, and I had plans to build 3 or 4 houses on that property at one time.
Okay, but if you build 3 houses or 3 buildings, you know, would have to then later come to the number of parking spots maybe to limit, are they, you know, 1-story buildings or 2-story buildings? You know, it'd be a
Well, that's gonna be up
fourplex,
to
a
the
six.
zoning board, but there's plenty of room at the far end of that property to build the building, and I still got 20 feet on the back side, and I can build a building 35 by 3 buildings, 100 feet, like the timeshares across the street. Those buildings are less than 100 feet long. So I could build 3 of those buildings, and I would have 35 to 40 feet to put a house in there, and I'd still have enough room in the back to drive, or I could move them back and I could have front parking in front of them. There is room to do it. I measured it all. I went over there and took the measurements myself.
And it was mentioned that there are possibly other deeds beyond the deed that you have. You know, because you talked about the developer, and he told you he was gonna do this and he was gonna do that, but I think over the years, you hear stories of other situations where the developer said, this spot is gonna be this, and then somebody came up with more money, and all of a sudden it wasn't. There are places where you drive along and you see, you know, a house that was there, and supposedly the land across was gonna stay separate. Now the land is sold to somebody else. And I would just encourage that the deeds be researched possibly more before decisions are made about changing or assigning the zoning. Thank you.
Any other comments?
There's only 2 deeds recorded on the property. And it was in 2012, and then mine, and the covenants were all on the first one.
Thought Tom sold it to somebody and then
Tom-
they sold it to
Tom worked the deal
HICPC.
out with his brother-in-law, and they sort of owned it together, and he ended up getting it back, because that's why the way they wrote it in the beginning, and he sold it to me. So, it all was in the same, basically, the developer had it the whole time. So there's only 2 deeds recorded, mine and that one. So there's no covenants at all on mine, all the covenants were on the other one.
Don House, 68 Shilsburg. Just a quick question, refresh my memory, if it's infeasible to lay a sewer line across the road, we don't allow septic tanks, correct?
No.
Yeah. So that would be a issue. Second, what's the economic impact between going from a R1 to an R3 to the SID?
I don't know.
Couple hundred.
Couple $100 a year, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Can I take another minute? Sure.
Tom Axman, 4 Horseshoe Drive. First of all, I think it's appalling to me that we're even here discussing this. That is the most, as far as I'm concerned, the most premier property at Holiday Island, if not the most, one of the most for sure. And it's unfortunate Tom Dees is no longer with us, but that should have been a piece of Holiday Island proper ownership, as opposed to individual ownership or what have you. And I, for one, am totally against it. Thank you.
I'll sell it.
What's the price?
Yeah.
Let the city make the offer, I'll sell it.
Ken Brown, 7 Cypress Point, and I'm on the Board of Commissioners. I think part of the problem here is what Al brought up, and that is some of the agreements that were made by Tom early, and he was trying to do the right thing, I'm sure, trying to develop, trying to get people in here to live, and many of us have enjoyed the work that he did along with the early boards of commissioners. My concern is that we have more apartments or condos or affordable places for people to live. I think there's a big plot of land that maybe the city council had dealt with or about to deal with up by Peachtree, which is either for sale or has sold, where there might be some multi-family units there. There's some discussion about whether this property has enough room, width or length for multi-apartment buildings, but you hear in the paper every day, people can't afford to live in Eureka, they can't afford to live here, they're making $15 an hour, where are they gonna live? So if we had more apartments or multi-story buildings, I don't know if they'd be on that lot, but I think we need more of those, not $300,000 to $400,000 homes, because they're not affordable to those people. The other thing is, it seems to me that because of the way this was agreed upon by the developer who's no longer with us and the new buyer, that it might be a legal situation to approach a real estate attorney or your attorney or the city council to try and work it out. But anyway, I know it's a big job, but as Linda said, the only difference in R3 and R1 is about $200 on the assessment every year that you pay for my house versus that lot.
Okay, any other comments?
Angelique Geyer, 26 Deer Run Drive. I just have a question, since this was conducted originally back in 2012. Since that initial deed, has there been a resurvey by anybody, by the, just lost the word, the Army Corps of Engineers? Has there been a survey with respect to that portion of the lake? Because I know that they have easements and so forth, and we're talking about blasting and possibly affecting the integrity of that area to put in water lines or to do something. Has it been resurveyed for that kind of use for sewer or for water?
Yeah. not an expert on that, but I don't think that they would, we don't allow blasting in Holiday Island, so they'd have to use hydraulic or something to, if they did have to trench across there.
Mhm. Okay, well, I just thought that the word blasting was mentioned about that. They would have to do some blasting to lay the lines. But if that's the case, yeah, but I was just wondering if there was an up-to-date survey for that, for use.
I don't know.
Yeah, well, that might be germane if they come back in and go, bad.
Well, he's not gonna, I mean, the core line, the backside of the property is the core line probably.
It goes down about 20 or 30 feet down.
The back of the property is the core line take line. It's on the.
It's marked.
Well, that's kind of what I was curious about that. Okay, thank you.
I don't think in this particular case, you can encroach on core property without getting really, really wet.
Yeah, I've got a quick question if I may. How long has it been since we did not allow blasting here?
I think it's in our zoning ordinance or
It was in the, I think it was in the original planning commission regulations.
Yeah.
That's where we got it from, I think.
How long ago would that have been?
I don't know how far back those documents date.
Yeah. The reason I'm asking is because a lot across the street from us, they did a lot of blasting to get that house in there. And I was surprised that, number one, that it was allowed.
Is blasting the same as jackhammer?
No, it's dynamite. No, she has some blasting's the same as jackhammer.
So you can't.
I don't know that they do very much blasting with explosives anymore. They use hydraulics now, I think, more than anything.
I have one more question, if you don't mind, Mr. Godfrey.
Yes.
You're wanting to go from an R1 to an R3, is that correct?
Well, yeah, it's an R1 because it's an R1 until I make a decision. So yes, that's what I want to do.
Right. My question, I guess, I'm thinking you may sell this.
I
And
have it up for sale.
all likely you're going to sell this. If you find a buyer that wants to be R1, what are we going to do?
It doesn't matter, he can still build a single, he doesn't have to build multi.
Doesn't have to build multi.
I mean, the R3 just gives him the right to do it. I might sell it to somebody who just wants to build a single dwelling out. I don't know who's gonna buy the property.
I understand. So an R3 gives you a little more flexibility.
Well, it makes the property, it values my property. So that's why I'm doing it now, so he doesn't have to go through it.
Okay.
So that's really the reason.
Okay, fair enough.
Somebody might buy it, just want to build one house on it. I mean, I don't know.
And they'd be allowed to with an
Yeah, they
R3.
can do it, yeah, on R3 you can build whatever you want, pretty much.
Okay, thank you.
He just pays more in fees.
Sure.
$200 more.
Any other comments? Sure.
Carol Kellerman, 11 Redwood Drive. What's the downside if we leave the zoning as it is today? What's the downside and for whom? And what's the advantage of changing it, the zoning, and to whom? The owner or the person who buys the property can then build multi-units as opposed to a single unit. Okay. And I agree with this gentleman there. Urban Planning 101, there needs to be some open space in any community. And that is a beautiful open space for that corner, and I am opposed to any building there. Thank you.
All I got to say, if somebody wants it open, they can buy the property and it can be open forever.
Any other comments? Hearing none, I guess
I'd like to correct the record. It's been said multiple times that this is a parcel and all it should be a parcel. And the record of the agreeing that to a parcel for a lot in September 29, 2009, HICPC accepted that as a lot. So it is a lot, it's not a parcel, and it was done in 2009.
what it was, yeah.
HICPC accepted it as a lot in 2009 on this for this document.
Even though, the strip is still called a parcel.
Yeah, the piece in the middle is still a parcel. It's parcel A, but that's lot 2 and lot 1 is over here.
Okay, any other comments? I'm gonna close this session then. Do I need to wrap the gavel to close the session?
Usually the agenda session.
And now we will go into the second session of the public hearing, which is regarding amending the planning and zoning regulations, section 7.05, commercial districts and industrial district uses for government services from conditional to permitted in commercial zoning districts C1 and C2. I'll give you the background on this. This is the city requesting approval from the city to do something. Most people know that we are going to be leasing space up in the park for the city offices. That the one room that we've had down here for the last couple of years, we're outgrowing that. And we were given a real good deal from the landlord up there in the park. So we leased that space for city offices. And then the secretary of our planning commission pointed out
Recording in progress.
Be on Zoom and also. Jerry, are you gonna be here on September the 12th?
I think he can. I just want to make sure that physically on Zoom.
Are y'all talking to me?
Yeah, are you gonna be here on September the 12th?
For a 6 p.m. meeting,
Yes.
Okay.
But I haven't heard anything y'all said till just now.
Yeah, I think I had it on mute.
And, but yeah, I'll be available December the 12th.
Okay, and we don't have any workshop scheduled. So, hearing any other business, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Barb made a motion to adjourn, do I have a second?
Aye.
One second, it, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you all for coming. I just put the batteries in these mics tonight, so we have to take them back out again.